Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Straight Shot Post podcast. I'm your host, Frank Arroyo, CEO of Straight Shot Post, and with me as always is my co-host, Grace Santos, my executive assistant here. And we had quite an eventful week at the company, so I think there's quite a bit for us to talk about, and I think we should just jump right in. Last week we went to NYCC 2022. That's going to be sort of a large conversation about what the episode is about. To give you guys a little bit of context, I've been working with my business coaches to really figure out, what I'm trying to build here at this company, and we sort of had a bit of an epiphany recently where we kind of realized I'm trying to build Pixar for the internet era. What we sell here is how we tell stories, and I need everybody to be able to sort of jump onto each other's projects and move around and pass the ball. I talk about it a lot like the Showtime LA Lakers culture-wise and just like from a style standpoint of how we make the product. And so we've been looking a lot into alternate forms of media, like where are the eyeballs at? And I got into this to make an impact and to take people through an emotional experience. And I think after 10 years in the industry, when I was in school, for context, Facebook wasn't out, or Facebook came out when I was in school, YouTube came out when I was in school, Instagram didn't exist. The 5D Mark II, the revolutionary digital camera that I think really changed the game for digital cinema, that came out when I was in school. I remember seeing the first video on the lobby of Tisch and just had my mind blown about what the future would be. And now we're here. So I guess all of that to say is that when I went into school, independent feature films was the name of the game. When I came out of school, it was changing, and certainly now, even though I've had a successful run of different independent features at these major festivals, I doubt anyone has seen it, right? That's sort of what's ended up happening. There's just not as many eyeballs there as there are on TikTok, obviously. And so I think it's as a storyteller, as a craftsman, it's sort of my job to continue to figure out how to reach people and how to move them, and to sort of be agnostic about the medium and be able to pivot and take my skills into whatever medium fits our audience the best. So all that to say, we go to Comic-Con to try to open our minds up to other visual storytelling mediums like comics, for example, to see if there's anything in that arena that we could make a play in as we start to develop our own contents and build an audience. And I think there was a million amazing things that we learned between last year and this year about it. Right, Grace?
Oh, yeah.
So if anyone's interested in that, maybe we'll just pin it in the comments. We did that as a test, kind of like making a short film. We made a single comic and brought it last year. So I'd actually love for you to maybe talk about last year and what you sort of took away from that experience.
Last year I had no idea about anything about comics aside from, I guess, some manga that my mom made me read when I was a kid, but I didn't know anything about the world of comics. And I went and I learned that there are so many different little comics. I assumed it was just, like DC,
Marvel and DC.
Like, yeah. But there's like an artist alley of so many independent comic book creators. And I learned how nice the industry is, how friendly it is. It was so much fun. We'd go to these panels and have big people speaking, big publishers and writers and editors at major publishing companies. And we just go up to them afterwards, and they're so friendly. They want to take a selfie with us. And I also learned making our comic. Preface, like, I've never made a film. I have never made a thing, but from just hearing what it's like to make a film and then going into making a comic, I realized how freeing it is, how open it is for story. You can do literally anything for the same budget, instead of, getting a special effects person, or, we could have a girl hanging off the ceiling at no extra cost. So it's cool.
Yeah, I think the big takeaways for me last year was simply, I'm going to try to sort of keep it simple. Basically, it's a smaller market cap industry than film and TV, which I think is a deterrent for some people because they're trying to get famous and they're trying to make, I guess, millions and millions of dollars. What I realized is, because of that, it's actually easier to break into and you have more access to the top. So the example I've been using is like, imagine if you could walk right up to DiCaprio's agent at CAA, sit down, have a conversation, and they're open to it. That's impossible. But in the comic world, a lot of those things are much more of an opportunity and much more realistic, actually. So that is something that I certainly gravitated towards, because if I get one person to read our book, I'm super pumped. But like, you know, if we can build it up just 1,000, 10,000 people, like that's really good enough to, I think the world is abundant, and, you know, I'm happy to have my little corner of it, and I don't need it. To me, I think a lot of people would have like a Marvel or bust kind of attitude, but I'm really not. I don't think about it like that at all. So it just showed me like, oh, we can do this. You know, if we put our time and our energy the same way that we apply it everywhere else, and we're patient and play for the long term, and hopefully tell great stories at the same time, I think we're going to actually be able to do it. And so that part really got me excited. I will say that like physically, one of the things is like, you know, it's 4 days, like 10 to midnight basically. And I'm an INTJ introvert, and I drag Grace with me because she has an incredible smile and people like talking to her. So it's very easy. You know, she's opens up a room and it makes it a lot easier for me to then kind of get going. And she keeps me moving too, because it's actually tiring it doesn't sound that crazy, but you're standing and you're walking and you're standing. I mean, I think
you're carrying heavy things, you know, your laptop and all the stuff you need to survive the whole day. And something about, my mom always told me about conventions, something about the floor at the Javits has no give. And it's like concrete kind of, and it's extra tiring. It tires you out. You don't even notice, but it's a factor.
That's so interesting. Yep, I can see that. I mean, you know, it's weird. Like and then of course because of that, and we have to go out to the events at night and do the networking and drink the alcohol and
do you believe me? I was PMSing all through the Comic-Con, and I just get angry at little things. Like two people cut me in the bathroom, and I got really pissed. I mean, I didn't do anything, but I was like, really? And I mean, I didn't sound like that. I was like, oh really? You know, but inside I was burning. Anyway, I think you for the first time maybe saw me being, I guess, like introverted. Like, do you believe me that I'm introverted now?
No,
like,
absolutely not. But
what? You still don't believe I'm an introvert?
I'm sorry. Just because you had an introverted weekend does not mean you're introverted. I mean, I don't know what you want me to tell you. That's my stance. You still were the one that went up and talked to people despite, I guess.
Oh, so I did. Okay, because you told me. Oh, no. Oh, whatever. I mean, I did, but I was like. You
were definitely, now that I think about it.
Dying inside.
And this weekend,
sometimes.
I think you were a little off your game this weekend. You were quieter. You were trailing behind me. Normally you're leading, except for the times where, and this is true, I'd be working on my phone and I'd just grab the back of her shirt and she would just drag me through the arena as we were going from one panel to the next, and I'm sending an email or on a call. And for anyone who's been to a convention like that, there's so many people.
Oh,
it's like, you know, that like literally it's just funny. But yeah, she led me like a dog a few times. But yeah, you know, it wasn't, I mean, you have much more energy today than you did last weekend, right?
Yeah. I mean, but I feel like that's the nature of Comic-Con, and I was a little like, I felt bad to realize how, you know, I guess off my game I was, because I was like, was I more on my game last year when I did it? Yeah. When was I, you know, like, and even when I feel off my game, I make it such a goal to come off that I am on my game. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way.
And so I didn't like that came off, but I hopefully at least was on my game in front of
when it mattered
when we were interacting with people. But yeah, I kind of let myself die in between those moments, and you know, just like shut my eyes.
I know that the moment that sticks out, we'll get into all the fun and good stuff, but the moment that sticks out, I think it was the third day when we sat outside the bathroom and I put on the World Championship.
I was sleeping-ish.
Yeah, but I was like, wow, she's fucking done, you know? Meanwhile, I was also pissed off because North America was in the midst of going 0-9 in the first week of Worlds at League of Legends, and it was brutal. So we were just both really cranky. But we did then fucking put the smile, you know, you could believe
and
it
like
I
wasn't dead. Like I could have kept going. That was me recharging.
Yeah.
So,
but I just remember that moment where I was like, wow, we're like, do we have anything left in the tank? You know, that's kind of like I just sitting there with you on the floor in the arena, being like,
yeah,
we gotta re-energize.
We had a whole another networking panel to get through and a party to go to after that, which was really fun.
Yeah, so, let's dig into some of the other things. Well, I guess let's wrap up this conversation just about like for people who are, because I think we're going to do NAB soon, and I think a lot of next year we're going to be doing a lot of these sort of in-person things, and I guess there's a couple of like things I definitely learned for sure like pack your snacks well, and pack good snacks, like stuff with protein that gives you energy, and something that's light in your backpack. That's another big one that I felt like literally there was nothing healthy at the venue, and there was all these food trucks, and there was nothing. It was all bar food or, you know, stuff like that. So I think it's really important to just keep that in mind, that you're not going to eat well no matter what you do. Number two is, and this was me, like I would like to say like next year that I can find a way to keep my workouts going, but I honestly moved so many miles. Like my Apple Watch was like, yo, you're killing it. I'm like, yeah, but I wasn't lifting. And then it's taken me about a week to recover. I haven't worked out at all this week. I'm super depressed about it. But like, really, it's just like to be aware, especially if you're an introvert and if you're giving it your all. And I went back to work on Monday, right? And then I went to legal ed. Like, it's not ending, but like, you have to kind of really recognize that. Like this weekend, I cleared everything out. So I have 2 days. Even if I get angsty and angry at myself, I kind of know I need at least a full day of just like quiet and peace. And
I totally had that moment too. I have my introvert recharge when it's like 10 p.m. and I turn on music and I start jamming out like really hardcore. Sometimes it just takes over me and it feels like the best recharge to finally be alone and just to be able to do that. So that was great. I was able to recharge too.
Yeah, I think it's
much
just
needed.
Definitely something to recognize, at least something I learned about myself. And so like, you know, I am really looking forward to getting back to the workouts and getting back into my routine. So it's just something to be aware of, especially if I do more traveling like this, is like, how do I find the travel routine that can be somewhat consistent where I can hit the things that I know I want to hit in my life?
And for me, for the food, I remember last year eating out every meal and having fried foods and like no vegetables, and I felt like crap. I remember last year. So I made a point this year to at least twice bring my own meals and bring just a container of broccoli and sweet potatoes that I had in my fridge.
Saved my life.
And that, yeah, it saved me too. It saved you. It does a number. Like, it just getting in a little bit of veggie was transformative, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And definitely
recommend.
Yeah, even just that, you're right. That one snack just like completely set me up. That was big time. So yeah, that definitely some stuff to say about just like actually getting through the convention. And again, to be clear, we were on the professional side, so we did hit the show floor a little bit just for fun when we had some time. But mostly what we were doing are panels, networking events, meetings outside the venue. And so let's dig into some of the big things that we learned. The first thing that I do want to say, and this is actually good from last year, which is like, again, remember that accessibility to the industry. I just want to shout out Josh at Source Point Press. They're an independent publisher who I think is doing some really innovative stuff in the industry. They do board games, they do comics, they do now plushies. And I guess this starts with last year. We didn't know anything about anybody. None of the main publishers, none of the indie publishers. So basically, as we were meeting artists, we were asking them like, hey, who do we look out for? Hey, who's having an after party? Like, hey. And Aftershock was an independent company that kept popping up, and SourcePoint was a company that kept popping up on the sort of indie side. So for those who don't know, there's a couple of big publishers like Marvel, DC, IDW, Image, and then there's a lot of offshoots of that. And I know I'm forgetting a big one. I think Boom Studios, maybe. Is up there. So there's like the major publishers, and the people that like import, right? They import the big manga brands and stuff like that. And then there's all sorts of these other guys that do have their followings. So here's two things that I learned last year. And again, I'll take it back to sort of Josh at SourcePoint. But basically, comic books, a lot of them, or actually, I'll sum it up this way. Last year, I just met people. Okay. And so I met Josh at SourcePoint, and Grace actually met him. I said, Grace, walk up to the booth. She walked up, was looking at some stuff. Somebody walks up to her. She says, hey, tell me a bit about your company. He says, hey, and this is what I mean when I'm talking about access. Literally, this happened more than once at Comic-Con last year. Hey, tell me a bit about your company. We're starting to get into the business, and we're here to learn. The guy's like, oh, I'm a great person. I'm the founder of the company. Hi, my name is Josh.
Here's my phone number. Here's my email. Like, come to my after party. It's
legitimate.
simple.
Like, okay. And then I bonded with him because as a business owner, last year we were in the middle of COVID, and I asked him how he's dealing with all the supply chain issues. And then we talked about paper for 30 minutes, oddly enough. Okay. And that's how we bonded. you know, and he has a small but mighty team, and so do I. And just like, boom. And then he was like, you got to come to our party, which, by the way, amazing time. I wanted to thank him so much. Both years were fantastic, and it's comic book burlesque, right? So if anyone knows Saga, for example, one of my favorites, they literally had like the prince from Saga's got, it's like a TV person, metal person. Someone throw up an image of this character, and there was like a burlesque of that, and I was sold. I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? So we had an amazing time with him last year, and an amazing burger too on that note.
I have to sidetrack about that burger because we had an awesome burger at the burlesque show last year, and we were reminiscing on it, and then Dale was like, it was such a good burger. I was like,
yeah,
I don't
she hated
think it
on
was
this burger
actually
for like a year.
that good. Yeah, for a year I was like, no, I think I was just tired, and so that's why I was hyping it up. But we were like, okay, this year we're gonna have it again. It's gonna be our thing to end Comic-Con, and we were really excited about it. And halfway through Saturday, which is the day of the burger, you started saying, I'm not going to have it. I don't think I'm going to have the burger. And it started freaking me out. I was like, no, this is our tradition. And I was really upset. But we got there and we got the burger. And it was actually really good. I can't believe
it's the Liberty. It's the Liberty, just to be clear. It's
Liberty.
It's the, oh my
Liberty.
God. Grace, tell the people because I'm messing this up.
The Liberty on, I think, West 30 or 38th. I don't know. You just Google the Liberty.
It's in near Herald Square.
Yeah.
And it's the Liberty
It's
Burger.
really good. Yeah.
So good. So so we
got to just sit on those comfy chairs and just sit back and look at watch burlesque after a big day and have a margarita and a burger. Like, no better way to cap it out, I think.
Yeah, and it's with him and his whole team. So we got to know
they're so
the other
awesome.
member of his team. They're such amazing
They're
people,
so
actually.
fun. Yeah.
They're out of Michigan, so they actually drive all the way out to Comic-Con with their. I think it's an unbelievable thing. It's I love it. I love the camaraderie. I love the spirit. And I got to see him on a panel this year too, where he was talking about horror comics, and he specifically caught my eye talking about pacing in comics. Which, again, if you guys are interested in this stuff and how to translate it, we're super happy to talk more. I can nerd out about it really all day. But yeah, he's talking about pacing in comics, which is very interesting because pacing in film, the editor, right, the filmmakers, we have control over it. I control your eyes. I know where your eyes go. I know what to cut to and how fast to cut to it to draw your attention. Whereas in comics, there are ways to do that in your paneling and in the structure and in the amount of words that you put on the page. But there's much less control because I cannot control how fast you read, right? I can somewhat guide you, but I cannot, like, if you decide that you're just going to read it really fast and fly through, there's nothing I can do. And we saw that last year when we were giving our comic out, just how different people were reading it, especially on the phone, which is whatever. We can get into that in a separate conversation. But yeah, definitely a lot of learnings there. So going and by the way, again, it's like one of those things where it's like, well, how did we do that? Now now I consider him a friend. I'm genuine. And by the way, he was so happy that we were there. It like blew my mind. I was like, this guy is just, we're having such a good time. Oh my God, actually, you don't even know this, but I have to share. So we learned a tip last year, which is that whenever you go to a panel, to ask to get a selfie with the people in the panel.
Oh.
And then afterwards, you post it and you tag them, and then they'll see it, and then you can continue the conversation. It actually has worked quite well. But you know how we took a selfie with Josh after his panel?
Yeah.
When I was at the party, there was a guy that was kind of looking at me funny, and I didn't know who it was. And then afterwards, I was like, oh, I think that's the artist. And we were kind of saying hi, and he recognized me. And I never really said hi to him, but I kept wondering what it was about. Anyways, I was going through the photos, and he took like an ugly photo of himself before he took that selfie. So I have a photo. Yes. No. You know how people do that?
Yes, that's hilarious.
And it's hilarious,
oh
but I'm like, I think that's why he was looking at me. He's wondering if I saw his photo.
Yeah. Oh,
and now we'll find his email through Josh, and we'll email him and strike up a conversation because I think that's hilarious. But you know, he's a really well-respected comic book artist and works with SourcePoint. So funny to sort of put that together. But yeah, so I would say like that's one of the big things that, and what I learned from that was, look, again, I'm an introvert. I put my head down. I really don't. I really, really do just want to come in, work here, play video games, go to bed and repeat. But I just can't deny how important, how impactful interpersonal relationships like are. So, for example, I met this guy really twice, but we bonded, and I consider him a friend. I really do. And that was it. Honestly, it was just cool people learning about the industry. But at the end of the night, he did say something that kind of it meant something to me, but also I was like, wow, this is how it works, right? Where he was just like, I really hope we get to collaborate one day. We know the kind of people that we like to work with, and you guys are that.
Oh.
We'd love, right. Were you there? You weren't there for that?
No.
Yeah.
Damn.
He's like, you're the kind of people that we'd want to work with. And like, I'm sure I hope we get to one day. And I was like, huh, right? So it's one of those things. You're wondering, how do I get a pitch out? Well, last year we walked up to the aftershock table and we said, hi, I know you guys don't accept unsolicited pitches. So how do we get solicited? And the guy that we were talking to at Aftershock, he's like, hi, I'm Teddy. I'm one of the editors here. Consider yourself solicited. Here's my name. Here's my email. Here's my number. Send me what you got. And I was like, man, dude, if you don't ask, you don't get, right? And I'm not like that, and I really do have to try hard to be like that, but I can't deny that, if you have skills, like I obviously believe we're incredibly good. So I come in with confidence, and I know we can bring value to anybody we collaborate with. So let's get past that part. Like, I know full well we're going to make people money. We're going to build an audience. We care. We're dedicated, and we're good. And so
that's a big step, though, that I don't know if is very common, but yes. Like, once you get past that part... Right. Which is something that you teach us to look at it that way, which is not as common, I think. But, in the artist world, right? It's like, what value do I bring?
I mean, if you want to touch on that part of comics and stuff too, it is a very solo artist thing. So is filmmaking. And I do think there's a lot of selfish... I don't want to judge or put this in too much of a bad way, I guess. So I'm going to say selfish and not a negative way. But it is a very selfish sort of a thing. You're an artist. My art is valuable, right? I want my story. So it's the difference between artist and craftsman. Do you have something that you need to say to the world that you have to say to get out and whatever? Or are you here to make stuff and connect with an audience in a different way? It's two different things. There's no right or wrong way, but I will just bring up that we did meet an artist who really did struggle, but found an incredible footing on Webtoons as a platform. And I remember when I said, hey, well, are you, trying to scale this? Have you worked with, because they were talking about how they really were struggling. Okay. And how they had been definitely faced burnout because they have to deliver this stuff every week to their audience. And it's a lot of work. They're incredible artists. I'm in the middle of reading her comic now, and I'm so impressed with the work that she does. But to hear how tough it was on her in her personal life kind of hurt, because I was like, God, it doesn't have to, I don't think it has to be that way, but it requires you to let go a bit. And I remember saying, have you worked with any other artists to help maybe lighten some of the load? And she was like, basically said, look at my art, and nobody can do it the way that I do it. And I was just like, that's what's holding you back, right? Maybe they can't do it as good as you, but they can definitely get it close enough. And how will it impact the audience as far as percentage gain or loss? And I just don't think people think that way. And so I feel for her because, like, okay, yeah, if you do feel that way, then there's no other result than to just burn out. And then what happens? Then you don't make, which is way worse, right? Than if you just were able to stay consistent and keep going. So, I mean, it's just an interesting tidbit. She seems completely fine, super experienced in the industry, really cool person. So, like, I really hope that we keep that relationship as well, because I want to see her journey and see her grow. And she's very successful on the Webtoons platform. So, which I guess we can talk about Webtoons for a second. What are the important things here, Grace? What are hit us with the stats?
Oh God, I don't know the numbers by heart. You know them.
I do. Okay, so...
Well, I just know that majority of Webtoons readers are women. 65% are women.
Yeah.
That's what I know. There's a lot of rom-com.
K-pop drama.
K-pop dramas, yeah.
But when you're but that's what you're seeing at the top of the platform. Again, it's one of those things where, like, do you need to be millions and millions, or are you happy with your 10,000, 20,000? And they're dedicated, and you can convert them, and you can monetize them, and they'll buy all your stuff because you're giving them really good story. That's what I look at. But here's what we gathered. So there's Wattpad, there's Webtoons. They have a studio together. So again, guys, I'm going to tell you the biggest thing I learned right here is that why would you get into comics as a filmmaker? It's very simple. You can execute things for much cheaper, and there is an audience to read it. So it's a great testing ground for any story. Don't just adapt it. Like, actually get good at telling comics, please. Right? It's a different medium. But most of these comic book publishers are IP farms. So that's to go back to the Aftershock conversation that we met an editor from. They have a studio attached. Webtoons is like a YouTube for comics, is an online platform. They have a studio attached. Okay. And it's really smart because you're not getting original stories in Hollywood. Why? Because it's too risky. Everything has to be a proven IP. I'm sure you guys have known this and have heard of this if you're trying to break into the industry. Why would they take a risk? So it makes much sense for me to take a risk. It's a much lower risk because it's much less money involved. Comic books is the place where original IP is born, and novels, basically. That's it. So if you're somebody who has original ideas, big budget ones, high concept ones, please try comics. Please try writing it as a novel, throwing it up on Wattpad weekly. What they provide is distribution. They have an audience built in, and if they like your shit, they're going to watch it. So I got really into this. 90 million readers worldwide, 15 million US, 65% female. And so, yeah, if we want to create something that caters to that audience, great, we can. We can do a K-pop drama. I'm sure my team would love to do that. But we also could just do what we believe in and be patient, knowing it's going to be growing slower, right? Same thing that we're looking at when we're getting into YouTube. It's like, if you like Mr. Beast content, yeah, you'll probably do fine. You don't, but YouTube is literally 1 billion users. Like, you're telling me you can't find literally everything has an audience, dude.
Yeah, what was the example that they gave about... No. About mowing a lawn. They said there's this account of people that go and cut grass in people's yards, and that gets, thousands of views. Yeah, that's crazy. There's an audience for everything. Well, that I'm sure people want to learn,
A business based on telling stories. You need distribution, you need engagement, and then you need a way to monetize. Okay? And so Webtoons provides distribution. Then we would engage and build an audience through all the platforms that we can, and then we would monetize them by having them buy more of our books or whatever, right? It's very simple. And I hope those that you listening are not judging, because I know there's this sort of weird stigma around like, oh, you're going to monetize your audience. And it's like, yeah, bro, what we do is really hard and it takes work and it takes effort. And we think that it's just a wrong way to say it. To me, it's like we want to trade with our audience. That's the way I look at it. I want to value trade with you. I want to create a book that I think is going to give you so much value and entertainment that you're going to reread, and you're going to give me money for that book. And then I'll be able to give you more books, right?
What's so cool about Webtoons and Wattpad and YouTube is that you get that direct interface with the audience and direct feedback, and you can, change your story according to that if you want, which they recommend don't do, but I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and you get the data, the analytics.
Yeah.
What did they find boring? I love stuff like that. We love that on Snapchat, right?
You're gonna, be a happy man when you get those analytics from our comics.
And so what it taught me is like, oh, and here's another really important stat, because, we were coming in trying to figure out, I think this is so valuable for you guys to hear, like, what's a timeline? What does a timeline look like, though? How long do I have to suffer before I make any money? Okay, right? So this is
5 years.
That's what we kind of learned, is that it's roughly going to take 5 years to build anything on any platform. The variable is going to be your skill level, how good the content. Like I said, aside from that, assuming the content is good, what's a timeline look like?
And a lot of the people said it doesn't even have to be good. Like that's not even a really as important of a factor as one would think.
By good, again, good is subjective.
Good is good enough.
Good is subjective,
yeah,
right.
Good is
really
subjective.
Because at our company, we talk about it as right or wrong. So if you're making the right content for an audience that wants it, that's kind of what I really mean. But I'm using the word good because it's generic. But basically, it doesn't have to be good in your eyes. That's basically what they mean. You don't have to think it's amazing because you're not the one that has to think it's amazing. It's your audience that's going to dictate that. And if your audience thinks it's good and wants to buy it, that's all you really need if you want to have a business in it. right? Something to keep in mind. So I think there was so much valuable to learn about that. And then learning about it, taking all the things we've learned this past year, working on content directly for people, I got excited because I was like, okay, good. Now I have a horizon. So if that means that if we don't figure this out in 5 years, putting all of our effort in, using all of our skills, caring and being empathetic to our audience and just giving our heart in, if nothing happens in 5 years of doing it, then maybe it's not going to work. Maybe we're just not good enough. But I was really looking for that because to me, it is an investment. Obviously, like we do commercials here, we're building that company. But at the end of the day, I do want to build something that goes right to the people because I think we're incredible storytellers and can really bring them a ton of value, whether it's utility or entertainment. I really do want to create something that affected me when I was 14, 15, watching Evangelion, changed the course of my life. So I get really excited about that.
And wait, going back to the Horizon thing though, I feel like it was really informative and comforting for me because, I just graduated. And I feel like the thought of committing to something for 5 years feels like an eternity. And I know that a lot of my friends too around my age are very much in a freelance mentality of like YOLO. And which I understand totally too of, I want to experience different things and experiment and try and learn. And so yeah, committing to something for 5 years felt like impossible. But hearing that everyone who's, made these audiences and great works, they all, grinded, yeah, for 5 years.
It takes time. By the way, that's a minimum. Just to get, again, guys, that's what we gather.
Right.
Some people blow up tomorrow.
Right. There's that one TikTok. What was her name? The TikTok
Hi,
girl?
I'm Chris, I think.
Chris, yeah. She literally overnight 2 years.
In the pandemic. Both of the guys. And Stephen He too. If anybody knows Emotional Damage, the meme,
Emotional Damage.
Yeah, exactly. If anybody knows that, he was a failed actor who because of the pandemic, I don't want to say failed, but he was an actor who wasn't.
He said it himself though.
But who in 2020 was I'm in the pandemic, let me just try this YouTube thing. He's always been a watcher. And now he's got 5 million subs in 2 years. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying. So there is that, but those are outliers, right? To me, I want to know what's the realistic, consistent thing. And you're looking at 5 to 10 year horizon to build anything, guys. So please, if you're Gen Z, if you're millennial, that's what you should be thinking in decades, years. Okay. And if you have that mentality, I think you'll be okay.
Can I jump to the brunch or do you want to wrap up anything here?
No, go for it.
Okay, so on Saturday morning before
I will say one thing actually, Grace.
Just
that when we spoke to the president of Webtoons and I was having this conversation with Aaron, I said, I think in years and decades, he said, you're already way ahead. You're going to be fine. He's like, you'll be fine. You're way ahead of the pack. If that's your time horizon, you will find success on our platform, within that time frame. That's what he genuinely said. So I just want to say that as it's they see how it goes. And everything that we see are the overnight successes. You don't realize they've been grinding and building it for 5 years and, happen to finally pop off, right? So yeah, just keep that in mind. Go ahead, Grace.
Okay, so on Saturday morning, we met with Dale's friend Shelby and one of our writers, Nika. And it was so interesting for me to hear, to first of all see you interacting with people your age and your group and in your field. And it made me feel like an infant and I understand nothing. And hearing Shelby talk about, how she has been grinding for 10 years and she's finally coming to this place where, I don't know what she's doing. I don't want to say what she's doing.
She can say I'll say stuff.
Okay.
She was an ad woman for a while, worked at Vayner. That's how I met her. Became a producer, writer, director on production side, and really just grinded her teeth there. Then I would say it was 2019. She's like, all right, we're going to do a short film, but she's also 100% a connector. If anybody knows The Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell, she is a connector. She literally has gotten me most of my, I don't know where my career would be without her. So thank you very much, Shelby. We love you so much. And you're going to be on this podcast. You owe me. But she's probably about a year or two away from everybody knowing her name, kind of a thing. And she spent a lot of time in the ad world. And then in 2019, she's like, I'm gonna make a short, and called in all the favors. I had to do it, right? We were there for 2 overnights with her. It was one of the most fun and honestly easy experiences because of the level of trust. And, I was able to take risks and make big choices. Like one of the things I talk about, and I was talking about it at the brunch, saying like, there's a really bad cut in Pretty People, her short film, which by the way is available on Leto on YouTube. Pretty People on Leto, short film. You'll find it. It's got almost 200,000 views right now. And so, that level of trust to sort of get us where we needed to be. Boom, she takes that short. We get into Tribeca, which I have so much to say about that. We'll save this for another podcast. We get into Tribeca. It's 2020. Nothing happens. She allows YouTube to take it. Ends up going to LA. Gets an agent, a manager. She's a Hollywood screenwriter now. So, but yeah, she's still in that bubble where nothing is really. It's right there. So many things are out in the market. So many things are about to get sold. But that's what I'm saying. It's gonna look like when her show is out and we're all watching it in 3 years. It's gonna look like she came out of nowhere, but like, I know the work that went into it, and it's very well deserved.
Yeah, that's what I got to see. And it was also very interesting talking about, again, the Gen Z millennial thing from their perspective. And I understand now how Gen Z comes off like with, I don't know, like entitled. It's a very different way of approaching. I don't want to say entitled. I don't know.
I'm not saying anything.
POV. Okay.
My mouth is shut here. I ain't getting in trouble. I'm not. Like, look, we had a conversation. I was at my uncle. My uncle opened up a store in the World Trade Center Mall for his company. He works with fragrance.com, and I was at their little opening event. And we were talking about quiet quitting and how, like, that's becoming a thing, and, like, how it's and that it's this thing that people are trying to make a cool thing and a good thing. And I'm like, quiet quitting, that means you don't like your job, dude, or something. Like, that means like what literally quitting is in the word. When has quitting ever been something that you want to encourage people to do, right? You don't want to create a culture of not putting effort in, to me. At least, and that definitely isn't our company's culture, right? Literally, our number one core value is effort. So, like, it's just an interesting thing. Now, I'm not here to judge. Every company can handle it differently. But, just hearing my uncle was like, quiet quitting. What? To me, that means you're just fired. And I just started laughing like, like, okay, yeah. I mean, how would you feel if you put all your time and effort into building a company and somebody just says like, I don't care, I'm going to do literally the minimum of the minimum of the minimum. I don't even know exactly what it is. So that's why I don't want to talk too much about it, but like maybe we'll open up another podcast to talk more about it. But I just know that at the very least, if you guys are marketing the term quiet quitting, it does not sound good. Okay.
Basically, I guess what I learned was I feel like I've heard so much about the industry, I guess, from my people of my age, and how people who haven't been in it and who are going into it and have this really a certain mentality of, like, I will do this work and I will be treated this way, blah, blah, blah. And then hearing it from also millennials' perspective of like, grind until you can't anymore. And like, that's how you're going to get there, was really interesting. And I can understand both sides, and it's very...
I mean, it depends what you want in your life. If you don't want to put effort in, do not have big ambitions, right? That's fine. That's all I'm saying. Like, your ambition should match your effort.
Well, what I'm saying is I feel like the Gen Z, I don't want to speak for all of Gen Z, but what I've been seeing, I guess, is... You're
Gen Z.
So I am Gen Z. Yeah. So is, like, we want those big things, but not with that kind of like...
Effort?
Over labor and not being, killed.
We'll cap it there, and we can talk more about it as it goes. But I'm not anti anything. It's
Me
just
too.
about.
I'm just very interested in this
judge.
whole like millennial, and because I've been talking to so many millennials at my restaurant, and then I talk to a lot of my friends, and it's pretty opposite views. So I'm always, and I see both sides, and I'm like, that's where it's gonna go. Like,
I have no judging at all. I have no hat in the race, because I get to pick who goes to my company. And if they don't fit the culture of my company, they leave, and that's great. It's our club with our kind of people, right?
Honestly, what's hard for me is I just keep getting very conflicted advice from the two generations, and that's when it's like, why are you letting
people tell you what to do?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this comes back to my older episode, in a previous episode, me talking about how I don't know how to make choices. And I always go around to people and asking for advice. And that's how I try to make my choices. But it's just gotten worse, because then I get conflicting advice.
I'll just say this, Grace. I'll say this, and hopefully it's not too rude. But like, if you're going to be taking advice, like we say here all the time, everybody's allowed to have an opinion, but they don't really matter. Okay, so who you get your opinions from, that matter, you should be very picky. I respect very few people in certain fields, and I just only listen
for
to
their
them.
opinion.
Yes, and I do get feedback from everybody, but it just doesn't matter. So in no disrespectful way, people your age giving you career advice who have never done it themselves and are not incredibly successful, crushing it, it's irrelevant feedback. Like, it's not an expert opinion, you know? It's not even like an eyewitness account. It's not like they're giving you what their boss did. It's just like they're making shit up. So, like, that's kind of how I look at it. I just look at those things. And to be clear, it's like, I don't give advice on anything other than storytelling. I think I suck at business so far. I'm getting better. In a few years, I'll be able to have really good, hopefully, good advice on that because I'm really good at it. But, like, if we talk storytelling now you're in my zone, in my lane. And yeah, that's what you should get feedback from me on, and nothing else, you know? Unless you think I've got it right or I have something you want, a quality or skill, then you seek that advice out, right? Just keep that in mind.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's start to wrap this bad boy up. Comic-Con was amazing. Highly recommend that people go if you're interested in learning more about alternative forms of media. We are going to hit things also like VidCon. Definitely going to go to NAB, and we're going to try to keep our eyes open as to what people want and how to really tell stories and impact an audience, right? So stay tuned for stuff like that. There's definitely so much like nitty gritty stuff. We could talk Kickstarter. We didn't get a chance to talk about my homeboy Noel and his amazing comic book competition, Negative Space Comics, and what they're doing over there, building education and then also flipping it into publishing. So there's so many more things we could have covered in this episode. And it was just overall an amazing experience. And I can't wait to go next year. And I can't wait to see what we're going to be able to do with it and cook up in the next year.
It was so much fun. I always love it.
Yeah, it was a good time. All right, let's dig into this. Life hack of the week. Grace blew my mind. Enlighten me. This shit is real.
Yes.
This is too
good. Dale was talking about how he ordered a steak the other day and you wanted it medium rare. That's your favorite, chef's choice, really good. And you're debating, is it worse to get a steak cooked too medium or too rare? And I think you concluded that you'd rather get it too medium than too rare because the rare feels bloody and cold.
It's chewy.
Yeah. And you were like, very conflicted about what to order it as. You're like, should I order it as a medium or medium rare? And my advice from working at a restaurant where we serve steak is look around the restaurant. If you want your order to be medium rare, look around the restaurant. If it's not busy, order medium rare because the kitchen has time and will do it justice. If it's busy around, order medium because the kitchen will be rushing. So you'll end up getting a medium rare anyway. And that's the advice. So anyway, if you want it medium and it's busy, order a medium well, and it'll come medium. That's generally pretty safe to say. And I did it the next day. I ordered a medium and in a busy restaurant and it came medium rare. So
yeah, on the money with that, which is true because when we ordered Chef's Choice for the burger, there wasn't that many people down there and we got it perfect.
Yeah.
So definitely, I mean, that's one I know I'm going to use because it's happened twice. And I also want my steak like hot. I hate having to send it back.
Did you send it back that day? Did you have to get it
No,
redone?
it was really, it was, by the way, I guess this, shout out to Jenny Ravitz and of course Shelby Bartelstein. We had an amazing dinner at an awesome jazz club at the Roxy Hotel in Tribeca. It is really cool. But it's a fancy, you don't necessarily have to dress fancy, but like it's a dinner. I went and got, I spent probably $100 on the whole thing and it was really, really worth it just to have a nice jazz club in New York. So I really did enjoy that experience, but yeah, it was like dim and I knew that it would take forever to get it back. Like just by how the service was, it was just like this poor one girl was running around to all these tables. And so, I was just like, if I hand it back, I don't know when I'm getting the food back. I'm just gonna rock it and do my best here. So, definitely a life hack that I know I will use and that I love. And here we go. That takes us to question of the week.
I have a question.
Ooh, thank God.
This is kind of similar to the island. Maybe not. If you had to choose one place to live forever, where would it be?
Just come on, man.
Stay in one place.
I don't know how it's not New York City. I just don't know how it's not. Because I think New York City, you can literally get everything you want, ever, basically. Like, as far as experience is concerned.
Where in New York?
I think that I've opened up to. I think it is a personal preference. Like, Manhattan's cool. We're in Brooklyn. I really like Brooklyn. But everything is actually close enough by that like I could live in Brooklyn just off a commuter train. Pro tip: 7 line or L line gets you into, is a crosstown train. Crosstown trains are the most OP trains in the game because you can hit everything. So I did live in Astoria off the 7. Not the biggest fan of that area and culture. Loving Brooklyn. And then obviously if I was just like in Manhattan, like by Union Square, is probably the best place to be just because you can get anywhere. And there's already a lot going on there in downtown, right? But that's me, who doesn't care about my like immediate local few blocks because I'm in my house anyways. I just need convenience and access. And if I wanted a jazz club, I can get it. If I wanted a hard rock thing, I can get it. If I wanted to go to some fancy art show, I can get it. If I wanted to hit a private club, I can get it. If I wanted to go to a rooftop bar, I can get it. If I want the most authentic Japanese food in the world, I can probably get it. Also, any culture's food, you just, you can get it here. So I would say that. The only other thing I would consider...
As a Japanese person, I object, but I get it.
You just haven't found it. That's the way. I really do believe that. Like Morimoto is here. Morimoto has his restaurant here, and I'm sure you're going to get super authentic. It's probably $500, but you can get it. We're talking about, in my head, it's like if it's perfection, and I can live anywhere without any money required. Like, for example, the only other place I'd consider is probably Puerto Rico. But that's
very
like,
different, though. You don't get all these things.
You don't. But I would also be imagining like I'm never going to get
beach.
hit by a hurricane, and I have a perfect beach and perfect Puerto Rican food and whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I'll give you one more that's just sort of spicy. Is more like favorite places. New Orleans and Barcelona.
You really love Barcelona. Wow.
I love Barcelona. And I was only there for 4 days of my life, so it clearly had an impact.
Wow.
So those are the only places I would consider. I've been to Japan, and I'm a giant weeb. I just don't think I could live there.
No.
It's too homogenous. You can get the same experience every day, But if I wanted
You could probably get a lot of the things that you listed, aside from the food thing, like all those experiences in Tokyo and things. But it's still, I am Japanese. I have citizenship. I would not live there.
Let me just throw it to you this way, because I feel like this would be the difference. If I'm going to Japanese, I could have great Italian food cooked by Japanese people, right?
Right, which has a Japanese hint of sweetness.
So all I'm saying is what I want to be able to have a conversation with Italian people who do Italian, right? Culture. Right. I like the mix of cultures. Yeah. And so I'm assuming there's obviously going to be that it's just not like, dude, when you're in New York, like I said, if I want super fancy high-end Italian, fine, I can get it from some Michelin star restaurant. If I want to go to a hole in the wall, I'm hitting Napoli and Astoria. And I'm going to have that experience. And that's kind of what I mean. As far as variety of things, I just like literally, I think you have basically everything here. Now, every major city in the world is going to have a lot of that. But like, New York is I think, probably.
We had this moment when we went on Thursday afterwards. We went to Fig and Olive, the restaurant I work at, for dinner. And it was like a moment of like, this is what New York is. Yes,
it was too good.
It was really dope.
And in the jazz club and going to CE Sports, that's what I mean. I just had like completely different experiences in 1 week. Shout outs to Daria's shirt, right? So like very much love that. Okay, solid question, Grace, honestly. And there's a couple of places, but I think New York is really, I think it's got to be New York. All right, here we go. My turn. I'll keep it on theme this week. So give me 2 things that are on your bucket list.
Okay. I'd say skydiving. I would want to do that, I think. I'm still not sold on it, but I've had a lot of close people say it's awesome.
It's not what you think it is, I guess, is the interesting thing. I think a lot of people think it's like the same kind of excitement and thrill of like being on a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It only feels like that for like the first 30 seconds, and it's just a different experience. But yeah, worth doing. I don't think I have to do it again, but I've done it once.
Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Going to Japan with my Brazilian cousins. It's been something that we've been trying to... They've been telling me that since I was a kid, when my cousins were... Okay, when I would go to Brazil when I was a kid, they were the only people who spoke English, and I didn't speak Portuguese then at all. And they were, I was like 5, they were like 20, in their 20s, so they were cool, versus everyone else is much older. And they would always tell me, Grace, they were like my fun cousins that I love to see. They're like, we're going to go to Japan together. And they've been saying that for my whole life, and we've never done it. So that's something that'd be really cool.
Well, I think that's a great one, Grace. I definitely want to take my parents and family on a trip too someday. So hopefully we can build up this empire of ours and be able to take our families on trips in the future. I think that'd be amazing. So let's wrap it up. Thank you for sharing, of course. And there goes another episode of the Straight Shot Post podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, work hard, be nice, and keep changing. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good one.